Why, hello, everybody. It is the Intel Drop. The date is May 31st. I think it's June tomorrow, actually. Let's look at that really quick. Yep, it's June tomorrow. So, this is the Intel Drop. If you've been on this channel for a little, you know that this is where we bring you guys the media without the media. And today we will be doing just that, bringing you guys the news stories I'm seeing that have some sort of impact to your life, or I want you guys to be thinking about or knowledgeable about because it affects you or may affect you. So, like this video and share the video. We are trying to recover this channel from the other one that we left. We left our bigger channel to move to this one to actually grow the channel to get past the censorship. So now hopefully things will be better. But we took a big subscriber hit, so share this video so we can try to get back those people. Let me get to the start of my Intel, and we'll get started if I can even find where this stuff starts. It's a good amount this week. There we go. All right. Gaza warns of catastrophe over an animal feed shortage. That will spread to a lot of other regions. I'm hearing similar things from various grow zones. By the way, I'd like to thank whoever sent me a message saying that I should get a mask cup for this mask, so I'm not always adjusting it. I would really like a system like that. However, the ones I looked at Amazon and found were massive cups and would just make me look like a monkey. So, I still need to find one that works well, that isn't just going to expand this to huge proportions. So if I do find one of those, awesome, I'll buy it. For the moment, I just gotta deal with this. Governor Newsom announces $116 million giveaway for Californians. So California in the past, if I remember correctly, has had multiple bailouts, and they've taken money from the government to pay for programs that didn't work. They've got $116 million floating around to give out to people who have this. Not to pay for services, not to actually help the people, but just to give out for this. I don't know where they're getting that money from, but it seems like we've got some really weird bailout stuff going on right now. There's also a similar situation I've heard. So apparently Jeff Bezos has a space company. The Senate is discussing bailing it out for $10 billion. Jeff Bezos apparently is also buying MGM Studios for $8.5 billion. So he can't afford the $10 billion to bail out his own company, but he can afford the $8 billion to buy another company. You see what's going on? They're stealing your hard-earned money to enrich themselves. Right? Your taxpayer money is going directly into Jeff Bezos' pockets. Because he found a loophole in which he can buy another company and then declare some sort of bankruptcy in the other company, right? It's ridiculous and insanity, and it's the reason I in no way am in favor of paying all your taxes. There are a certain amount of taxes which you do owe to the government and you should pay. And this is partly also why I wear the mask, so I can say something like this. I'm in no way in favor of you paying the fullness of your taxes. There's a Bible quote that people like to reference. Give to Caesar what is Caesar's. Give to Caesar what is Caesar's does not mean give Caesar everything you own or 40% of your wealth. It means give Caesar's his dues. What is Caesar's? Now, all of your money obviously isn't Caesar's. Jesus didn't give his entire wealth to Caesar. He gave what was owed to Caesar. That can be proven through the rest of the Bible in paying of debts. You don't give them 100% of what you own. You're not to be in debt to somebody. You're to pay up your debts. Are we indebted to the government? Then pay them what we owe them. That's what taxes are. What do we owe the government? There's a certain amount we do owe them for. Fire services, police services, so certain programs, military protecting us, things like that. But there's another amount that we don't owe them. We don't owe them anything on our property. What did they do for that? We don't owe half of these ridiculous taxes. And I'm not in favor of paying them. And I believe that it is perfectly biblically reasonable not to. We should be paying to Caesar what is Caesar's. That does not mean paying 30% of your income blanket statement. That means paying what is reasonable. A flat tax is very reasonable, but not a 30% tax, where you get taxed on your income, you get taxed when you spend, you get taxed when your money sits in the bank. It's that bad. And what I mean by taxing when you sit in the bank is you are charged fees. You don't gain interest while they're gaining interest off of it. It's just ridiculous. So I understand that there's a Bible verse that talks about taxes. I do not think it means pay the taxes we are being charged right now. It definitely doesn't mean pay everything you own. What's that middle line? I believe it's pay what is reasonable. And that's how we get out of situations like this. If we were paying what the government was owed and needed, the government wouldn't have $116 million to give out to their supporters. It's ridiculous. Prime Minister Netanyahu ousted so there's actually some crazy stuff right now going down in Israel. Netanyahu's been the leader over there for a while. A little while ago, there was some talk about apparently he couldn't continue his leadership if there was another government than announced, or another government was formed, another party. Well, at that moment in time, there wasn't one, so he continued to rule. But now, someone named Lapid and Bennett, they've agreed on forming a cabinet, which would effectively create that new party and government to take over in the place of Netanyahu. So as soon as that's ready, I'm pretty sure they'll be in power. I will be doing more research to find out which side they were on. If these two people are on the side of our current leader in our country, I see why this is going down, and it makes sense. Especially now. Makes full sense. USCIS to drop gang-related questions from the green card form. So I guess it's not relevant if you are a part of a gang or not to get a green card. All right. Now, what is the only reasonable effect that we could see from something like this? Maybe the people who are involved in gangs who get green cards might increase. Just a thought. Shoplifting has forced Walgreens to close 17 stores. It's kind of what happens when you let shoplifting become the norm. Now, I'm still hearing mixed reporting about this. Not contradictory reports, but I haven't heard this go mainstream much. But that might be because they're trying to hide it. I waited a few days on this news just to make sure it was legit and wasn't some fake news because it sounds crazy. Remember that German man I talked about? I think it was German. Maybe it was I don't remember. It says German here, but I can't remember actually saying it was German. Whatever. But no, sorry. It was Belgian. It was Belgian. So there's a Belgian man who went out rogue and he stole some weapons and said he was gonna go avenge or whatever. Go watch my video on that. I did a video on my last channel, on my now BrerHoneybadger Redacted, and I talked about this Belgian man who went rogue. And he had weapons, he was trained sniper, he knew what he was doing, and they haven't found him yet. I just want to say that they have not found this guy yet. It's been like a week plus at this point. They haven't found him. It's crazy. There was a German 8-man squad. Why am I getting emails? There was a German 8-man squad who went after him. Apparently now they can't find that 8-man squad. But there hasn't been sounds of fighting or anything. What they think happened is that this 8-man German squad went rogue and joined him. That sounds crazy. In all honesty, though, I think that most likely is the case. Purely because there's been so much discussion lately about a military coup and infighting and civil war in various European countries. Germany is one of them that's been really affected by this crap going on. I think it's very likely that this 8-man squad went rogue. And I think a lot of the rest of the military is going to start to be going rogue. It's just a matter of time. So I'm not surprised by this news. It sounds crazy, but the fact that this is most likely true doesn't really surprise me too much because it's fully within the realms of probability. So, Proton Mail users, I never got Proton Mail because I know that there's all this stuff about it's decentralized or it's secured and it's not Google. They will be just like Google, give it enough time. Proton Mail users are outraged as the email service has reportedly started using Google's reCAPTCHA secure logins, but potentially compromising users' identities in the process. So they're using a Google reCAPTCHA thing. You know what that is, the boxes. How many bikes are in the pictures, and then there's just like no bikes or something. But they're using that, and apparently that compromises the identity of people who are using it. And the whole point of going over to email server like Proton Mail is to hide your identity. So that kind of just threw a wrench in the mix, but hey, whatever. I don't use it, so it doesn't affect me as much. If you do use it, you might want to really start thinking about, is this really what I thought it was? And for the moment, it's still better than a Google, but in the end, I don't think it will be. I think we will, just like all big companies, which Proton Mail is becoming, they will eventually bend the knee. There was a concert in Florida for punk rock or something. People who had the were charged $18. People who didn't were charged $1,000. Nice. Germany passes a very controversial copyright law. Internet services with user-generated content will be liable for possible copyright infringements by their users from June 7th. This means if you upload something and you're not the copyright owner, the platforms may have to pay and your accounts will be suspended instantly. So instead of you being pursued for that copyright infringement, they would be sued for that copyright infringement. Now, this is good for the copyright holders because it will make sure that these companies work a lot harder to prevent copyright infringement. However, it will absolutely destroy free speech because now every single post is going to have to be meticulously checked to make sure that no copyright was infringed. And this will create an even bigger opportunity for censorship. So, in the end, it's not a good thing at all. I won't report on that because it's just a lot of buzzwords and it's not too important. New Jersey lifts the mask mandate, social distancing rules in time for Memorial Day. Good. Hope more people do that. Or more places. California Cafe is charging a $5 fee for any customers who are mask wearing or bragging about the... Sure, do it. If they're doing it at these concerts or charging extra for people who don't have the, charge extra for people who have the. Do it. They're not going to change their ways because you don't like what they're doing. Fight back using their own tactics. That's the biggest fault of the Republican Party. We're too scared to actually do anything. And we'll say, oh, the Democrats, we won't stoop to that level. That's why we're losing. Anyways, and there's certain levels that we shouldn't stoop to. I agree. The problem is we won't actually fight. The Democrats fight hard. The communists fight hard. Republicans just sit back and are like, oh, we wouldn't do that. Okay, then you're going to lose. Sorry. That's a choice you're making. It's unfortunate, but that's where we're at. DHS Secretary, mask mandate for air travel will stay probably until mid-September. Cool. Texas hospital sued by 117 employees for requiring to work. Good. I hope they all quit and the hospital collapses and the people there realize that, maybe we need these people and we shouldn't all be forcing them to get this against their will and forcing them out. I hope that happens. Unfortunately, the collapse of systems like this is at this point the only thing that's going to force these people to see the light of day on this. Because they can't operate. We have to force them. They can't operate without it. Forcing in this case means, hey, we're not going to come to work if you keep making us do this. And then they got to say, we kind of got a problem here. That's what you have to do. You got to make them feel it in their pocket. You can't just say, oh, we write a stern letter. No, you got to sue them. You have to leave. That's the only way they're going to change. And even then, they might not change. U.S. records show Iran crude oil cargo landed in March, a month after ship seizure. So what this is showing is that the U.S. was importing Iranian oil even though there were sanctions in place against that. That's something interesting. I have a video here of an anti-lockdown protest in Canada. There are many such of these protests going on. I'm reading you this point because I want you to know that there are a ton right now of anti-lockdown protests going all over, and big ones in Canada. The mainstream media is not reporting on this, so you'll never see it. But the people are fighting against this. They're not that effective at this point. Even with their humongous numbers, because we've given too much power over to the big people, so they don't even care. But they are fighting. They're not being effective at all, which was to be expected, but they are fighting hard. So I just wanted to encourage you guys with that. There are other people out there fighting. A lot of them. Governor of Alabama signs an immediate ban on passports. Wonderful. FBI agents harass pro-family group that exposes organizing something story hours. You've probably heard about that stuff at libraries and all of that stuff. And the FBI agents are harassing them. I think it's pretty clear what side the FBI is on this. And this is why I wear a mask, so I can say something like this. I know you guys can go and find my face. That won't be there forever, though. I will find a solution to that. But the FBI is not your friends. The FBI are domestic terrorists. They came after people who were invited to the Capitol and imprisoned them for years and years and years. Families, they imprisoned them. They're locking up good citizens, and they refuse to prosecute the criminals in this country. And those who go after the criminals who are civilians, like these people, they will harass them. The FBI are sicko terrorists. And I mean it when I say that. Are there good FBI agents? Oh, yeah, certainly. But that's with every organization. There are good people within it. But the people in power at the FBI are pure evil. We need to start thinking in those terms. Unfortunately, at this point in time, the higher levels of law enforcement are not for us. And because the majority of law enforcement, and I do mean this, I know this might be inflammatory, are mindless and just follow orders and don't think about whether those are constitutional or not, law enforcement is going to be a pretty big problem for us in the future. There are some good cops, just like every organization. Those cops actually follow the Constitution. But there are many more who will just follow whatever needs to make money. If their supervisor tells them to go do this, they're going to not do it and get fired? No, they're going to do it. They need to put food on the table. They don't care that it's unconstitutional. They're going to do it. We've seen too many cases of that happening. And that's the problem right now. The higher leadership is evil. The lower law enforcement follows orders. We have the problems we're at today. If you believe differently on law enforcement, that's fine. But I think over time we will begin to see this become clearer and clearer. For me, it's become exceptionally clear in the last year which side these people are really on. Remember, none of these lockdowns would ever have happened if law enforcement didn't enforce it. None of these gun laws would ever work if law enforcement didn't enforce them. No tyrannical law in existence would have any meaning if there wasn't a cop enforcing that law. Right? You can do so much to stop the lawmakers, but you also have to look at the people who are enabling those lawmakers and breaking their constitutional oath by doing so. United States military is monitoring 2 Iranian naval vessels, possibly heading to Venezuela. So there's some talk about how these could be used for electronic warfare, possibly an EMP type situation. We'll see when it comes. These ships are something to be watching. I do not watch the planes and the ships normally. I think it's absolutely useless, and I think there's just so many people who are like, oh, look at this plane, it went over here, did this. I've seen those people monitoring the planes for years. Guess what? Not a single thing of importance has come out of all of that. And trust me, I've watched them. Nothing important comes out of it. Nothing happens. They just watch the planes and are like, we got this many Blackhawks up at this time. Why? Why are you wasting your time with that? Now, this is an actual military movement with big implications because it hasn't happened before. This is something to keep your eye on. The planes in general are not. So I do think that this specific situation has a possibility of being important. Court rules Gretchen Whitmer recall petitions can proceed. Good, recall her. She's a witch, and I mean that. She is responsible for blood, for a serious amount of blood. And there's some people who there's some governors who have done things like in this lockdown that I believe are like wrong. but I believe their heart behind it was good. For instance, with somebody like, well, I don't want to bring up names, but there's some governors who I do believe that they were wrong in their response with their lockdowns, but in their heart they believed that that was the right thing to do. And they truly did do their best. They really believed that the masks did work. Then there's other governors like Newsom and Whitmer who put these lockdowns in place and then blatantly defied them themselves to continue to live their lavish lives. And they took massive donations and went on vacations during their lockdowns, violating their own orders, going out to eat. Ridiculous things. Some governors I'll give a break to. They really think that this stuff is right. Now, they're wrong, but they really do believe it. Whitmer doesn't believe it. It's an act. She knows it's crazy. But guess what? The donations keep coming in. Why would she change now? She's a witch. And by witch, I mean an absolutely evil pile of trash. She's got blood on her hands. I hope that she has an encounter with Jesus and does. So I want to be careful too much I call her that, because I guess it's just emotion speaking, because she's ruined so many people's lives. And that's not recoverable. She's ruined families. You can't recover that. There is so much pain that's been caused by her. I hope that she turns to Jesus, because I know that Jesus will forgive her of these things. If she truly repents in her heart, I know that she can still be saved. And she could even be an incredible force for good. Paul was killing Christians, and Jesus, or Saul was killing Christians, and Jesus was able to bring him in, and he was such an amazing force for righteousness. The exact same thing can easily happen with Governor Whitmer. But I also have to acknowledge that at this point in time, we have to call her out as what she is. Evil. And I hope she has a change of heart or an encounter with the Lord. But at this moment in time, she is very, very evil. And we need to do everything in our power to stop this, because families have been destroyed by what this wicked woman is doing. I hope that she has an encounter with Jesus. That would be wonderful. Because, quite honestly, only Jesus' blood can cover the abominations that she's done. And that's just one person. There's thousands of these people in government that I can name. Probably millions that I can't. Flagship Tulsa Race Massacre commemoration is scrapped after survivors demand $1 million each to agree to appear. What on earth? Okay, I don't care about these people. Survivors of a race, I don't even know what that is, of a massacre, survivors of a massacre, and they want $1 million to appear? $1 million. You don't care about the cause. I doubt. Oh man, I question so much about this, because these survivors need $1 million. You don't have to pay people to talk about stuff like this $1 million if they truly do it out of the bottom of their heart, because they want to create change or feel for people or have any sort of human emotion. You don't need to pay them $1 million to appear. That's ridiculous. These people are crazy. Oh man. Georgetown students signed fake petition to cancel Memorial Day over American imperialism. That's great. I'm going to wave my American flag today. Go America. At least go the old America. The new America, to be quite honest, kind of sucks. The people in America are wonderful, and the good military are great, and there's so many people who... I am flying my flag on Memorial Day not to honor our current leaders, because our current leaders are trash, and not to honor a lot of our current, even military, because let's just say their demographics and their allegiance is shifting. They're no longer having allegiance to the American people or the government. They've got an allegiance to the money and to the power. I understand there's a lot of good military people right now. I'm sure you guys know some of them. But the main military leadership is shifting. Not in a good direction. I would fly a flag on Memorial Day for the old America. For those fallen soldiers who did fall for our country. And for those who fought hard for it. For us. Not for the corporate powers. Not for the money. not for the politicians, but who fought to protect their country. That's who I would celebrate on Memorial Day. Doesn't help. I don't even need to discuss the posts by Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, but you've probably seen their Twitter postings where they posted like a picture saying like, enjoy the long weekend. No mention of Memorial Day. She later did make a mention after she realized her massive blunder and people were catching on to it. Same with Joe Biden. He did the same thing. So, I mean, that's who I would honor with Memorial Day. I would hope you guys would too. Honor the people who fell for our country, not who we have right now profiting off of this stuff. Anyways. House Republicans propose Stars and Stripes Act to ban BLM and other political flags flying at the U.S. embassies. Wonderful. This is good. This needed to happen a long time ago. A weapons system test conducted by U.S. Missile Defense Agency in the Pacific Ocean near Hawaii failed to intercept the target. Well, that's reassuring. Wonderful. Russia to deploy military units near western borders in response to NATO moves. Russia says it will send an array of unpleasant signals to the United States in the coming days ahead of the Biden-Putin meeting. That's interesting. We will see where that goes. That sounds like it could have some potential for a little bit of chaos. China, and I said the word, large Asian nation, is ending its two-child policy to allow couples to have 3 children after a census found the population is rapidly aging. So, all right, it was a 1-child, now it's a 2-child, now it's a 3-child. And come the New World Empire, China, a large Asian nation, I did it again. That's okay. Kamala Harris commends U.S. corporations to create jobs, or commands them to create jobs, in Central America. Yes, that is what she said. You can go watch the video. Man. Russia Foreign Minister says Russia is monitoring the persecution of those behind the January 6th riot at the U.S. Capitol. Hints at a violation of human and opposition rights. Thank you, Russia. At least someone's fighting for us. I don't even care that we're against Russia. You know what? If they'll fight for us, thank you, Russia. Nobody else will. If our own government is turning against us and the Russian government is supporting us, you know what? My allegiance might change. That's a kind of a joke, guys, but at the same time, there's a little bit of truth in that. If our own government is going to lock us up and persecute us, maybe our allegiance should change. Mine has. I have no allegiance to the U.S. government in any way. In fact, I am against them. Look at what's happening right now. They are locking us up for what we believe in. And they are against you because of what you believe in. Don't play this game as I'm supporting the government or I just don't want to upset the government. Dude, you're a terrorist. What do you believe in? Did you support Trump? You're a terrorist. Do you support religion or right-wing ideas? You're a terrorist. Do you support non-mask wearing or are against terrorists? Is that just myself extrapolating? No. That is from actual, I've read this is from actual terrorist designations released to the U.S. government that were leaked, talking about what we should be defining. Oh, and being anti-United Nations is also terrorism, if you guys didn't know that. That's from actual documents in the U.S. government designating who should be called a terrorist. That is real stuff. If you in any way were thinking that the event that happened in January or in November was in any way influenced, you are already viewed as a terrorist by the U.S. government. Stop playing this game of, I'll just go along with the government under the radar. They already hate you. Alright? It's only a matter of time before they act on it. I'd love to be proven wrong on that, but I don't get on this show to tell you guys fairy tales. I tell you guys what's actually going to happen. Whether that's happy, or whether that's absolutely terrifying. And in this case, having the full force of the U.S. government behind you, or against you, is terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. I hope it doesn't come to that. But it already has. Hundreds of your fellow patriots, fellow Americans, have already been locked up. Now, they should have seen this coming and shouldn't have gone to the Capitol. It was obvious that the Capitol was going to be bad. But at the same time, the response was not appropriate. They have been locked up, their lives are ruined. In many cases, their lives are just flat out over. It's done for them. They're on terrorist lists now. They can't work, they can't get a job, they can't fly, they can't travel, they can't own a firearm. It's over. Why? Because they decided to act on their constitutional right for free speech, for assembly, for protesting, for literally abolishing the government, because that's a constitutional right if you didn't know that. Yes, that was written in the Constitution for a reason. Our founding fathers envisioned that they would need to abolish the government. That's a constitutional right. But look what's happening right now. Our fellow Americans are being locked up and their lives are being ruined because they opposed the government. Tyrannical much? It's been that way for quite a while. I said a lot of stuff on this intel drop that is probably controversial. Actually, I know it's controversial. If you don't agree with any of that stuff, that's great. I want people on my channel who don't agree with all my views. If we get everybody here who agrees with everything I say, it's going to be pretty boring and we're not going to have any real discussion. So I do want people who don't agree 100% with what I'm saying. But I truly do believe that as things get worse, more and more of you will come around to believing like I am, if you don't already. And the main things I want to emphasize with that, with beliefs that I think are going to come around that not enough people right now truly realize, is things that the government is not your friend. The police are not your friend. And this is not going to end in peace. Massive conflict is coming. Massive conflict. There's going to be a clear winner. It's going to be the side that is psychologically winning and better prepared. Now, the military is kind of in a tricky spot because they could flip either way. They could support the government like they're bound to do. However, there's also real Americans in the military. They've got families too. If they start acting against their own families, we might have some civil war going on in the military. Anyways, that wasn't the discussion I wanted to get into. I just wanted to say that mainly the police are not your friends. There are some great law enforcement out there, but the majority of them and their executives are not your friends. Just because they haven't come after you yet does not mean they will. They've come after your friends. They've come after those people who went to the Capitol, who were called to the Capitol by a sitting president. They were called there. And then they were arrested and their lives were ruined because of it. By who? Law enforcement. Guess what? None of these people would have been taken away to jail unless law enforcement researched into them, unless law enforcement found them, unless law enforcement arrested them, unless law enforcement took them into jail, unless the court system prosecuted them, and unless law enforcement kept them in jail. Politicians can say whatever they want, but if law enforcement doesn't enforce it, it won't happen. The tyrannical laws are enforced by someone. Think about that. I will see you guys later. Thank you for watching, and things get worse and worse and worse. Thank you for being here. Please keep subscribing to the channel and share this video. We are trying to get back up to a relatively good number of subscribers. That being said, we're at like 110 or something so far. I'm very thankful for that. Thank you guys for that. I appreciate every single one of those. We are getting the Odyssey up right now for this YouTube channel. That should be up fairly soon, and I'll switch over the link on the website so that it sends to the next Odyssey channel. So thank you guys for being here. I'll see you guys later. Thank you for watching. Have a good one.